My Marcus. What follows is my own personal selection of passages from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. A full reading of Meditations is highly encouraged, as this abridged version is one I have mainly made for my own purposes. My first teacher: to put up with discomfort and not make demands, to do my own work, mind my own business, and have no time for slanderers. Diognetus: not to waste time on nonsense, not to be taken in by conjurers and hoodoo artists with their talk about incantations and exorcism and all the rest of it, not to be obsessed with quail fighting or other crazes like that, to hear unwelcome truths, to practice philosophy. Rusticus: the recognition that I needed to train and discipline my character, to read attentively, not to be satisfied with just getting the gist of it, and not to fall for every smooth talker. Apollonius: independence and unvarying reliability, and to pay attention to nothing, no matter how fleetingly, except the Logos, and to be the same in all circumstances: intense pain, the loss of a child, chronic illness, and to see clearly, from his example, that a man can show both strength and flexibility. Sextus: to investigate and analyze, with understanding and logic, the principles we ought to live by, not to display anger or other emotions, to be free of passion and yet full of love. Maximus: self-control and resistance to distractions, optimism and adversity, especially illness, a personality and balance, dignity and grace together, doing your job without whining, never taken aback or apprehensive, neither rash nor hesitant, or bewildered or at a loss, not obsequious, but not aggressive or paranoid either. My adopted father: his attitude to the gods, no superstitiousness, and his attitude to men, no demagoguery, no currying favor, no pandering, always sober, always steady, and never vulgar or a prey to fads. The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil, but I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil. Whatever this is that I am, it is flesh and a little spirit, and an intelligence. As if you were dying right now, despise your flesh, a mess of blood, pieces of bone, a woven tangle of nerves, veins, arteries. Consider what the spirit is: air, and never the same air, but vomited out and gulped in again every instant. Finally, the intelligence. Stop allowing your mind to be a slave, to be jerked about by selfish impulses, to kick against fate and the present, and to mistrust the future. What is divine is full of providence. Even chance is not divorced from nature. From the inweaving and enfolding of things governed by providence, everything proceeds from it, and then there is the necessity and the needs of the whole world, of which you are a part. Whatever the nature of the whole does, and whatever serves to maintain it, is good for every part of nature. The world is maintained by change, in the elements and in the things that they compose. That should be enough for you. Treat it as an axiom. Remember how long you've been putting this off, how many extensions the gods gave you, and you didn't use them. At some point you have to recognize what world it is that you belong to. what power rules it, and from what source you spring. That there is a limit to the time assigned you, and if you don't use it to free yourself, it will be gone and will never return. You see how few things you have to do to live a satisfying and reverent life. If you can manage this, that's all even the gods can ask of you. Everyone gets one life. Yours is almost used up. Don't forget these things. The nature of the world, my nature, how I relate to the world, what proportion of it I make up, that you are a part of nature and no one can prevent you from speaking and acting in harmony with it, always. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. The speed with which all of them vanish, the objects in the world, and the memory of them in time, and the real nature of the things our senses experience, especially those that entice us with pleasure or frighten us with pain, or are loudly trumpeted by pride. To understand those things, how stupid, contemptible, grimy, decaying, and dead they are. That's what our intellectual powers are for. And how a man grasps with God, with what part of himself he does so, and how that part is conditioned when he does. All you have to do is to be attentive to the power inside you and worship it sincerely. To worship it is to keep it from being muddied with turmoil and becoming aimless and dissatisfied with nature, divine and human. You cannot lose another life than the one you're living now, or live another one than the one you're losing. The longest amounts to the same as the shortest. The present is the same for everyone. Its loss is the same for everyone. And it should be clear that a brief instant is all that is lost. Remember two things: that everything has always been the same and keeps recurring, and it makes no difference whether you see the same things recur in 100 years or 200 or in an infinite period. That the longest lived and those who will die soonest lose the same thing. The present is all that they can give up, since that's all you have, and what you do not have, you cannot lose. Everything is just an impression. Human life. Duration, momentary. Nature, changeable. Perception, dim. Condition of body, decaying. Soul, spinning around. Fortune, unpredictable. Lasting fame, uncertain. Sum up. The body and its parts are a river, the soul a dream and mist. Life is warfare and a journey far from home. Lasting reputation is oblivion. Then what can guide us? Only philosophy, which means making sure that the power within stays safe and free from assault, superior to pleasure and pain, doing nothing randomly or dishonestly and with imposture. We need to hurry, not just because we move daily closer to death, but also because our understanding, our grasp of the world, may be gone before we get there. You boarded, you set sail, you've made the passage. Time to disembark. If it's for another life, well, there's nowhere without gods on that side either. If to nothingness, then you no longer have to put up with pain and pleasure, or go on dancing attendance on this battered crate, your body, so much inferior to that which serves it. One is mind and spirit, the other earth and garbage. Let the spirit in you represent a man, an adult, a citizen, a Roman, a ruler, taking up his post like a soldier and patiently awaiting his recall from life. needing no oath or witness, cheerfulness, without requiring other people's help, or serenity supplied by others. To stand up straight, not straightened. Your ability to control your thoughts, treat it with respect. Forget everything else. Keep hold of this alone and remember it. Each of us lives only now, this brief instant. The rest has been lived already, or is impossible to see. The span we live is small. Small as the corner of the earth in which we live it. Nothing is so conducive to spiritual growth as this capacity for logical and accurate analysis of everything that happens to us. To look at it in such a way that we understand what need it fulfills, and in what kind of world. Doctors keep their scalpels and other instruments handy for emergencies. Keep your philosophy ready too, ready to understand heaven and earth, and everything you do, even the smallest thing. Remember the chain that links them. Nothing earthly succeeds by ignoring heaven, nothing heavenly by ignoring the earth. Be your own savior while you can. Our inward power, when it obeys nature, reacts to events by accommodating itself to what it faces, to what is possible. It needs no specific material. It pursues its own aims as circumstances allow. It turns obstacles into fuel. As a fire overwhelms what have quenched a lamp, what's thrown on top of the conflagration is absorbed, consumed by it, and makes it burn still higher. No random actions, none not based on underlying principles. You can get away from it anytime you like, by going within. Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. An instant's recollection is, and there it is, complete tranquility. Or are you complaining about the things the world assigns you? But consider the two options, providence or atoms, and all the arguments for seeing the world as a city. Look at things like a man, like a human being, like a citizen, like a mortal. And among the things you turn to, these two, that things have no hold on the soul. They stand there, unmoving, outside it. Disturbance comes only from within, from our own perceptions, that everything you see will soon alter and cease to exist. Think of how many changes you've already seen. The world is nothing but change. Our life is only perception. Our state must be the world. What other entity could all of humanity belong to? And from it, from this state that we share, come thought and reason and law. Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. It was for the best, so nature had no choice but to do it. That every event is the right one. Look closely and you'll see. Not just the right one overall, but right. As if someone had weighed it out with scales. Keep looking closely like that, and embody it in your actions. Goodness, what defines a good person. You have functioned as a part of something. You will vanish into what produced you, or be restored, rather, to the logos from which all things spring, by being changed. Now they see you as a beast, a monkey, but in a week they'll think you're a god, if you rediscover your beliefs and honor the logos. Not to live as if you had endless years ahead of you. Death overshadows you. While you're alive and able, be good. Not to be driven this way and that, but always to behave with justice and see things as they are. To the world, your harmony is mine. Whatever time you choose is the right time. Not late, not early. And then you might see what the life of a good man is like. Someone content with what nature assigns him, and satisfied with being just and kind himself. Something happens to you? Good. It was meant for you by nature, woven into the pattern from the beginning. An ordered world or a mishmash, but still an order. Can there be order within you and not in everything else? In things so different, so dispersed, so intertwined. A philosopher without clothes and one without books. I have nothing to eat, says he, as he stands there half naked. But I subsist on the logos. And with nothing to read, I subsist on it too. Entrust everything willingly to the gods, and then make your way through life. No one's master, and no one's slave. What should we work for? Only this: proper understanding, unselfish action, truthful speech, a resolve to accept whatever happens as necessary and familiar, flowing like water from that same source and spring. Hand yourself over to Clotho voluntarily, and let her spin you into whatever she pleases. Constant awareness that everything is born from change. The knowledge that there is nothing nature loves more than to alter what exists and make new things like it. All that exists is the seed of what will emerge from it. You think the only seeds are the ones that make plants or children? Go deeper. Nothing that goes on in anyone else's mind can harm you, nor can the shifts and changes in the world around you. The world is a living being, one nature, one soul. Keep that in mind, and how everything feeds into that single experience, moves with a single motion, and how everything helps produce everything else, spun and woven together. Time is a river, a violent current of events, glimpsed once and already carried past us, and another follows and is gone. What follows coheres with what went before, not like a random catalog whose order is imposed upon it arbitrarily, but logically connected. And just as what exists is ordered and harmonious, what comes into being betrays an order too. Not a mere sequence, but an astonishing concordance. To be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it. Take the shortest route, the one that nature planned, to speak and act in the healthiest way. Do that, and be free of pain and stress, free of all calculation and pretension. To shrug it all off and wipe it clean, every annoyance and distraction, and reach utter stillness. Child's play. If it's right to say or do it, then it's the right thing for you to do or say. The others obey their own lead, follow their own impulses. Don't be distracted. Keep walking. Follow your own nature, and follow nature along the road they share. There is a single harmony, just as the world forms a single body, comprising all bodies. So fate forms a single purpose, comprising all purposes. Not to think of philosophy as your instructor, but as the sponge and egg white that relieve ophthalmia, a soothing ointment, a warm lotion. Not showing off your obedience to the logos, but resting in it. Remember, philosophy requires only what your nature already demands. What you've been after is something else again, something unnatural. What am I doing with my soul? Interrogate yourself to find out what inhabits your so-called mind and what kind of soul you have now. I am made up of substance and what animates it, and neither one can ever stop existing, any more than it began to. Every portion of me will be reassigned as another portion of the world, and that in turn transformed into another, ad infinitum. The Logos and its employment are forces sufficient for themselves and for their works. They start from their own beginning. They proceed to the appointed end. We call such activities directed, from the directness of their course. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. Nothing happens to anyone that he can't endure. The same thing happens to other people, and they weather it unharmed, out of sheer obliviousness or because they want to display character. Is wisdom really so much weaker than ignorance and vanity? Things have no hold on the soul. They have no access to it, cannot move or direct it. It is moved and directed by itself alone. It takes the things before it and interprets them as it sees fit. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Honor that which is greatest in the world, that on whose business all things are employed and by whom they are governed, and honor what is greatest in yourself, the part that shares its nature with that power. All things, in you as well, are employed about its business, and your life is governed by it. Keep in mind how fast things pass by and are gone, those that are now and those that come. Existence flows past us like a river. The what is in constant flux. The why has 1,000 variations. Nothing is stable, not even what's right here. The infinity of past and future gapes before us, a chasm whose depths we cannot see. Remember, matter, how tiny your share of it. Time, how brief and fleeting your allotment of it. Fate, how small a role you play in it. So other people hurt me? That's their problem. Their character and actions are not mine. What is done to me is ordained by nature. What I do by my own. The mind is the ruler of the soul. It should remain unstirred by agitations of the flesh, gentle and violent ones alike. To live with the gods, and to do that is to show them that your soul accepts what it is given, and does what the Spirit requires. The Spirit God gave each of us to lead and guide us, a fragment of Himself, which is our mind, our Logos. The world's intelligence is not selfish. It created lower things for the sake of higher ones, and attuned the higher ones to one another. Look how it subordinates, how it connects, how it assigns each thing what each deserves, and brings the better things into alignment. Soon you'll be ashes or bones, a mere name at most, and even that is just a sound, an echo. Nature is pliable, obedient, and the Logos that governs it has no reason to do evil. It knows no evil, does none, and causes harm to nothing. It dictates all beginnings and all endings. Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. Cold or warm, tired or well rested, despised or honored, dying or busy with other assignments. Before long, all existing things will be transformed to rise like smoke, assuming all things become one, or be dispersed in fragments. The Logos knows where it stands, and what it has to do, and what it has to work with. To move from one unselfish action to another with God in mind. Only there, delight in stillness. The mind is that which is roused and directed by itself. It makes of itself what it chooses. It makes what it chooses of its own experience. Everything is brought about by nature, not by anything beyond it, or within it, or apart from it. When jarred, unavoidably, by circumstances, revert at once to yourself, and don't lose the rhythm more than you can help. You'll have a better grasp of the harmony if you keep on going back to it. Those who revere that other mind, the one we all share, as humans and as citizens, aren't interested in other things. Their focus is on the state of their own minds, to avoid all selfishness and in logic, and to work with others to achieve that goal. We find ourselves in a river. Which of the things around us should we value when none of them can offer a firm foothold? Not to assume it's impossible because you find it hard, but to recognize that if it's humanly possible, you can do it too. It's the truth I'm after, and the truth never harmed anyone. What harms us is to persist in self-deceit and ignorance. When you deal with fellow human beings, behave as one. They share in the Logos, and invoke the gods regardless. Revere the gods. Watch over human beings. Our lives are short. The only rewards of our existence here are an unstained character and unselfish acts. Awaken. Return to yourself. Now, no longer asleep, knowing they were only dreams. Clear-headed again. Treat everything around you as a dream. Nothing has meaning to my mind except its own actions, which are within its own control. Everything derives from it, that universal mind, either as effect or consequence. If you've seen the present, then you've seen everything, as it's been since the beginning of time, as it will be forever. The same substance, the same form, all of it.